The story of I Am Legend begins with a moment of triumph quickly turned to tragedy. Dr. Alice Crippen, a brilliant scientist, develops a cure for cancer using a genetically modified virus. Initially, the world celebrates this breakthrough, but the virus mutates, and instead of curing cancer, it devastates humanity. The virus turns people into Darkseekers, monstrous, vampire-like creatures that only come out at night, and they are driven by a primal need to hunt and destroy anything living. Within months, civilization collapses as the virus spreads across the globe, governments fall, cities are abandoned, and humanity faces near extinction. Amid this apocalypse, Dr. Robert Neville is left behind. The last known uninfected human in New York City, Neville fights to survive, holed up in a fortified townhouse. His only companion is his loyal German shepherd, Sam. Amid this apocalypse, Dr. Robert Neville is left behind. The last known uninfected human in New York City, Neville fights to survive, holed up in a fortified townhouse. His only companion is his loyal German shepherd, Sam. The once bustling metropolis is now a desolate landscape overtaken by nature. Vegetation grows unchecked, and the city is eerily silent, save for the occasional sound of the Darkseekers, whose blood-curdling screams echo through the night. Neville, deeply scarred by the loss of his wife Zoe and daughter Marley during the chaotic days of the outbreak, follows a rigid daily routine. He scavenges for supplies, hunts deer for food, and conducts experiments in a desperate attempt to find a cure using his own blood, which is immune to the virus. His research, however, yields little hope, as he sees no progress in his attempts to reverse the effects of the virus. Each day, Neville broadcasts a message over the radio in a final, fragile attempt to reach any other survivors. My name is Robert Neville. I am a survivor living in New York City. If there is anyone out there, please. You are not alone. He also speaks to mannequins he has placed in a video store, creating a sense of companionship in a world devoid of human contact. His isolation wears heavily on him, and his loneliness is palpable in his interactions with Sam and the mannequins. As the months drag on, Neville's mind begins to unravel. He faces the bitter reality that he may be the last human alive, and with no one left to connect to, he becomes increasingly unhinged. The Darkseekers are relentless, and their proximity to his safe house forces him to live in constant fear. Each night, as the creatures gather outside his fortified home, Neville retreats into his laboratory, where he continues his research, driven by the slim hope that a cure might still exist. One day, while capturing Darkseekers for his experiments, Neville notices something that shakes him to his core. He traps a female Darkseeker and observes her behavior. Unlike the others, she seems to display protective instincts when another Darkseeker is captured. This new discovery ignites a flicker of hope in Neville. He begins to suspect that the creatures may not be as mindless and purely destructive as he once thought. The possibility that they retain some form of humanity challenges his assumptions, making him question his role in the fight for survival. But soon, the tide turns against him. The Darkseekers, too, seem to have learned from Neville's traps. They set their own ambush, and Neville is caught, left hanging in the snare of his own making. As night falls, he is surrounded by infected dogs and barely escapes with his life, but not before Sam, his beloved dog, is bitten. In a desperate attempt to save her, Neville tries to treat Sam's wound, but the infection takes hold. His heartbreak is profound as he watches Sam transform before his eyes. With a heavy heart, Neville is forced to euthanize her, burying her in the backyard. The loss of his last remaining friend plunges him further into despair, and he retreats even deeper into isolation. However, fate intervenes when Anna and her young son, Ethan, stumble upon Neville. They had been listening to his radio broadcasts and found him just in time to save him from a group of Darkseekers. Their arrival brings a glimmer of hope back to Neville, though he remains skeptical about the possibility of any survivor colonies. Anna tells him about a group of people living in Vermont, rebuilding society, but Neville is unwilling to believe. After 3 years of solitude, he has lost all faith in humanity and is reluctant to believe that anyone could still be alive. Anna's arrival coincides with a significant breakthrough in Neville's research. After testing a new serum on the female Darkseeker, he observes that it has a positive effect, suggesting that a cure may finally be within his grasp. As the days pass, Neville becomes more hopeful, but this hope is tinged with the harsh realization that time is running out. The Darkseekers are becoming more organized, and Neville's home is no longer safe haven it once was. That night, as Neville, Anna, and Ethan attempt to escape the house, the Darkseekers launch a coordinated assault on Neville's home. The creatures break through the defenses, and the trio retreats to Neville's basement laboratory. The alpha male Darkseeker, relentless in his pursuit of the female, pounds against the glass walls of the lab, and in that moment, Neville has a realization that shatters everything he believed. The Darkseekers are not just mindless monsters, they have formed their own society, with emotional bonds and a hierarchy, much like humans. This new understanding changes Neville's perception of them, but there is no time to ponder this revelation. In a final act of selflessness, Neville decides to sacrifice himself to ensure Anna and Ethan's survival. He gives Anna a cure and hides her and Ethan in a secure compartment before preparing to face Darkseekers. As he sets off the grenade, taking the creatures with him, Neville's last words to Anna are filled with the weight of his realization: the cure is in your hands. Get it to the colony. Save humanity. The explosion signals Neville's final act of sacrifice, but his death is not in vain. Anna